world in 17 countries. I realized when I was doing business transactions, etc., what was really important was to find common currencies across people. Ultimately, all of business or all of other relationships are about human interaction. And there is only one currency that's common to all of us in this world. Only one. Any guesses? Sorry, speak up. Feel free. US dollar. I like this guy. Anyone else? Smile is nice. That's helpful if you get it. Nice. Time. You have 24 hours, I have 24 hours. And it's the only decreasing currency in this world. The only one. So the moment we become conscious of the currency that's common to all of us, and we start respecting it, then life becomes more purposeful. And in all of life, there are only 4 things, I believe, that we need from each other when we meet. This has to be satisfied. We need to learn something. This has to be satisfied. We have to laugh and love. This has to be satisfied. Hopefully there's some food on the table. And if you're lucky, the soul is also satisfied. It doesn't matter where we go and what we do. It's that simple. That is why my company is called T-. So people said, how come you have a minus in leadership development? Because you're supposed to look forward. Well, you look forward, but you plan life backwards. That's the way it works. So that's the paradigm in the framework with which we have to look at our own lives and how we can make a difference to other people's lives. And I think tourism plays a very important part in that. I'm a life coach, and I'm a leadership coach. And in coaching, we have a paradigm. And coaching is different from mentoring. In mentoring, we teach. In coaching, we let the person discover for themselves. And that is why the retention in coaching is a lot more than retention in mentoring. So in coaching, we have a paradigm called a life tree. It applies to an individual, and it applies to an organization. So the top of the tree are the fruits of the tree, the outcomes, the special gifts and talents that God has given us, and what derives success for us. For example, for me, God has given me the skill of communication. Likewise, for an organization, it's all the assets we have, the monuments in Karnataka, the websites, the book that was released, all of these things that bring us success and outcomes. Now, the middle of the tree is the I am statement for an individual, which means, why am I on this earth? And every individual makes a statement for themselves, and it's different for every individual. Now, for an organization, likewise, it's the mission statement, the purpose. What's important is the roots of the tree. The roots of the tree are called core values. Very often in life, we forget what's important to us, and that's the root of the tree. For example, for me, gratitude is important. If I am engaging with a human being who's not grateful, turns out I'm going to be miserable. I have to sever the relationship and move on. Likewise, we have to ask ourselves in the tourism department, what is the essence of who we are? What are we trying to do? Once we understand what we're trying to do, then the top of the tree becomes more bountiful. That's the fundamental philosophy with which we approach leadership and coaching. So with that paradigm, I wanted to introduce a few things. I went to Tirupati recently. I walked because I like to walk. I like to hike. I walked up and down. I think all of you know it's about 11 kilometers each way. And it was great. And then they put you in a room which has got seating arrangements, and they transfer you from room to room, as you all know. And if you walk, you get there halfway because they put a biometric and so on, which is nice. So we were there for about 3.5 hours. Once we sat there, everybody was nice. About 200 people was the room capacity, and there were 300 people, which was fine. Everybody was quiet. Around 11 o'clock, they brought some sambar rice. And in every room, there's a corner from which they can actually serve us. There's a counter. And they came in a hallway. 3 women came, and a person came. Guess what happened in the next 1 minute? Any guesses? Human beings and bhaktas became animals. They became chimpanzees. Now you might say, we are like this as a people. You might say, it's hard to change our people. You might say, it's going to take a very long time. I disagree. The problem is somewhere else. The problem is not the people. The problem is because they did not approach it in a holistic way. All it took was for one of the women to come to the room and for them to stand there and say, listen, there's enough food for everybody. That establishes trust. And then say, listen, we are going to serve by this row first. If anybody stands up, they're not going to get food. That row first, next, and so on and so forth. What happened was this, 20 minutes of chaos. The gentleman would pick up from the counter, his family is somewhere there, there are 100 people here, it just flies, the sambar rice. Okay? And then what happened? I sat there along with another family I met them there, and I said, okay, it's okay if I don't get enough food, it's fine. Within 20 minutes, I went to the counter, it was empty. And I picked up my food and just came back. So we allow people to be animals. We do not respect the human being that we are serving. It's the TTD that messed up. Do you know the annual budget of TTD? $10 billion. Do you know how many visitors are there to Tirupati per year? Approximately 16 million people. Do you know how many visitors are there to Disneyland in California? 14 million people, approximately. Do you know how much an average person spends in California to go to Disneyland? $75 on the entrance, $25 on the food. Do you know how much we put in the hundi on an average? Approximately $100. The person in California says, wow, the lines were long, but I had a great time. The person in Tirupati says, wow, the lines were great, but I'm glad I came out alive. And we are going to a place of God. I think Lord Venkatesha ran away from there a long time ago, personally. So this is what we need to look at when we do tourism. This is our core value. Why are we doing this? For whom? Who are we respecting? Who are we delighting? Who are we bringing the wow in? Who do we really care? Who are we trying to bring the smile in? Whose memories are we trying to raise for permanency? And that's important. If we don't do that, everything is the top of the tree and it's superficial. There's a website. It's called tripadvisor.com. Tripadvisor.com. Take a look. I took my daughter to Madrid in Spain, and I took her to Rome. And we were decided we are not going to a five-star hotel because she's a student. And I wanted her to learn about ordinary hotels. I said, do the research on the net. She did. And we went there, and she picked the hotels, and the criteria she used was clean bathroom, decent rooms, not noisy, near public transport. 4 things. And she sifted through various hotels, and she picked 2, and they were great. Do the same thing on the same website for the Maurya Hotel owned by KSTDC. Bathrooms stink, the curtains are dirty, the rooms are not maintained, people are not smiling, the food sucks. You will see this. This is the truth. And there are some good comments. And they also say the rooms are inexpensive, 900 rupees. That's nice. Okay? This is a problem. And guess what? Reputation is no longer, you can duck about reputation. It's transparent. It's the same website. And I think we need to take an honest look at ourselves. So Karnataka, I think it was mentioned earlier, has tremendous assets. I don't have to repeat that. 300 kilometers of coastline and whatnot. It's ours to lose. So what does the global tourist look for all over the world? What are the common currencies? Some of it was mentioned. They look for a hotel that's clean for staying. They look for a hotel where the food is hygienic. They look for emergency medical facilities, just in case. They look for an information desk somewhere, whether it's in the hotel, going to the tourist place, or somewhere else. They look for connectivity of transport from the town they are in to the tourist location. They look for safety. And above all, they look for a restroom or a toilet. If we don't nail the toilet, we are dead as a country. Other countries will move on. We are dead as a country. Today's Hindu paper, how many people have seen the Hindu paper today? Nobody reads the Hindu? It's not a bad paper. What do you see on the first page? 50% of the homes have mobile phones but do not have a toilet. That, my friends, is the scourge of this country. It's the curse of this country. And I'm an Indian and I'm an American, I can tell you this. We have to fix this problem. So I think Karnataka tourism potentially could make having world-class facilities a differentiator, brand it, say you can expect nothing but world-class, and I can tell you in 2 years, you will be number one. I guarantee that. But you have to do it and do it sincerely. So what do we need to do? Create a rating system for restaurants. Enforce it. Singapore does that. Singapore does that. Enforce it. Have supervisors go there, create a feedback system. Every customer that goes to a rated restaurant has the privilege of either sending an SMS as good, bad, ugly, or filling out a form, or sending an email. Monitor it. Second, restrooms. In every place, you have to have restrooms and they have to be dry. I mean, the days of wearing a dhoti and lifting it up and, in a sari, that's all fine for a wet restroom. Imagine wearing a salwar kameez, wearing jeans, and going into a wet restroom. Those days are gone. You may also want to consider whether you want an Indian-style toilet or a Western-style toilet. Seriously. And educate people on how to use it. Because one of them can be kept dry. And I built one. I got one built in our village in the crossroads. And they asked the question, should it be Western or Indian? I said, it's going to be Western. They all blinked. But my money had not gone there. And now kindergarten students are using it and it's clean. Come and test it. It's a public toilet. It can be done. And it can be kept dry. Otherwise, they'll just go and pour water. Get corporations to get involved in branding with respect to saying maintained by pride, so they fund the person who's maintaining it. It's an opportunity. It's done in Singapore. It's done in other countries. And we have to do it. Get them involved. Then, make sure the restroom satisfied the poorest person. It's not for me. I'll survive. For the poorest of the poorest person. And educate them. Put signs on the back of the door. Educate the person. It's a continuous process. Singapore took 40 years to fix the country. We can do it in 2 to 3 years for tourism. Get the IT folks involved. Get them involved to clean the beaches. Brand it. Give them visibility on television.